The history of the Carlton Baseball Club is dedicated to my mum and dad, Eunice and Don Hudson. Here is a photo of Don taken in 1946 that is significant to me in the fact that it was taken at Royal Park, where after 64 years Carlton moved from Princes Park to play here on a place commonly known as The Hill. The earliest photo located was the 1920s Premiership team, where the club won the VBA Summer Flag and proceeded to close the winter season as league leaders, only to go down to Melbourne 12-6 in a game played midweek at the MCG. This was due to inclement weather, and the photo typifies the cricket club influence towards its attire. However, the photo promotes the club as the Carlton Blue Sox, a name that, perhaps disappointingly, did not stand the test of time. Pictured here left to right is Frank centre field, Stewart right field, Myers third base, Stewart left field, Wannell second base. In the front row, Smythe the shortstop, Malcolm the pitcher, President was Myers, Alan Shippen the captain, and Van der Staal first base. By 1929, the uniform had taken on a distinctive new look, and here we have a second 9 photograph featuring one of tonight's guests, Alan Jinks. That's Alan, third from the left, followed by his brother Fred. Next to Fred is Jim Dewar, and 2 along is Clive Wilson. Unfortunately, the rest of the members remain unknown. Alan himself went on to represent the cricket club in over 22 seasons, capturing 569 wickets and winning 8 bowling averages and 4 club championships. He also represented Victoria, and a special welcome is extended to Alan tonight and his wife. Unlike the 20s that saw the club runners-up on 4 occasions, the 1930s brought great success and Carlton came of age, winning back-to-back premierships in 1930 and 31. They also won premierships in 35 and 39, plus a special Nutting and Young sponsored cup in 1933. Pictured here is the 1931 side that included one of Carlton's best remembered characters, Harry de Grucci, a pitcher and state representative and cricket club player who won a series of club championships in his long and distinguished career. Standing left to right is longtime scorer W. Harper, Gladman, the legendary J. Dennison, Matthews, Bill Ennis, Paxano, Dinger Bell, Owens, President of the cricket club, Williams, and seated is Strengths, the baseball president, Greenwood, Cobber, Harry de Grouchy was the captain, Collins the vice captain, Fred Jinks, and Myers the secretary. In 1934, a stateside features another Carlton representative, shortstop Harold Dickie Collins. That's Harold, 5 from the left. Harold's cousin Lyle Collins also played at this time and will be seen a little later. The 1935 Premiership side featured several well-known personalities, including life members A. Matthews, Fred Freer and E. Matthews. That's A. Matthews, back row far right, and a young Fred Freer, centre, second from the left, seated next to E. Matthews. Also pictured is Secretary and early administrator Mr. C. Myers, kneeling, centre, far right. Here is a Carlton Cricket Club third 11 about 1937, featuring notables Jim Baird, Lyle Collins and Jack Turner. These are pictured back row 6, 7 and 8, left to right. From the Jack Ellis collection comes the first known photo about 1937, featuring legends Jack himself, Fred Freer and Jay Dennison. The year 1939 brought the club its fourth premiership in 9 years, and it was fought in the best traditions of baseball and saw Carlton defeat traditional rival Melbourne 8-5 in the final innings. At the bottom of the ninth, Carlton were down 5-2 with 2 out and 2 runners on, when Melbourne pitcher Jack Francis suffered a severe nosebleed and was forced out of the game. Snowy Gilbert was at bat for the Blues that day, and he scored 2 runs immediately, followed by a series of hits and a flag. Later it was discovered that an earlier incident involving a Fred Freer pitch that struck Francis on the elbow had prompted the nosebleed. Legend has it that Fred claimed he had swung the game, Carlton claimed the flag, and no one at Princes Park was denying the result. Unfortunately, not all the players are known from this 1939 side. However, back row, 4th from the left, is Corby, Jay Dennison next to him, and A. Matthews, number 9. In the front row we have pitcher Fred Freer kneeling and Matthews next to him. Having already mentioned legendary names, none come bigger than 3 at once. Here they are, the 3 Jack Ellises. Pictured left to right is the Carlton great, his father the umpire, and on the right is the Brunswick Jack Ellis, who was no relation. All 3 played state baseball throughout their career, with the Carlton and Brunswick Ellises representing Victoria at the same time. Pictured here is long-serving President H. Tracker Newmer, Bert's father, a life member and Carlton associate with the cricket and baseball clubs for over 53 years, who came to Carlton in 1905, holding the baseball presidency between 1949 and 1958. We salute Herbert Tracker Newmer. Next is a man I've learnt more about in the past 6 months than in my entire life, who is nothing short of a living legend. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Fred Freer, whose pitching and cricketing delighted many people, and all Australian whose performances were outstanding in an era of outstanding individuals. A special welcome tonight to the great Fred Freer. Here's another shot of Fred in action. Fred captained the club through the war years, winning back-to-back club championships in 1943 and 1944. Unfortunately, Fred retired prematurely in 1948 to concentrate on cricket. However, he went on to represent Australia and played under the great Sir Donald Bradman. The club through the 1950s was not as successful as in earlier eras. In 1949, under the promotion-relegation system, Carlton was relegated to B grade, and under former Collingwood and Victorian star Jack Higgins, the club rallied to win the premiership and return to A grade. Notably, Jack coached the club for 7 years, 1947 to 1953, and was always an A-grade competitor throughout. This side is a preview of the 1950s Premiership side. Pictured left to right is Higgins, Ellis, Warne, Williams, Freer, Warner, Varley, Numa, Wake, and the bat boy David Kromersroff. The 1950s Premiership side is pictured here and represents the front cover of the publication, The History of the Carlton Baseball Club. Pictured left to right is President H.L. Numa, Warne, Crawford, Snelling, Wake, Varley and Secretary Arthur O'Neill, sporting the famous Carlton blazer. Centre is Sternfield, Newman, Higgins, Williams and Ellis. The front row, Numa, Deans and Warner. Out of the 1950s came a young man who took over the pitching department, learning much from the great Fred Freer to become the club's pivotal player of the era. Bert Numa had a distinguished career with Carlton, both cricket and baseball, and featured regularly in representative sides. Here is Bert, top left in Brisbane, 1953 as part of the Claxton Shield squad. Here's another shot of Bert in action in 1954 at the Albert Ground, sporting his traditional sweater. Whether as a pitcher, catcher, baseman or hitter, Bert was a natural and won club championships in 1948 and a hat-trick for the 1951, 2 and 3 seasons. In 1954, Victoria retained the Claxton Shield in Melbourne, with Bert pitching the final game, blocking out the powerful New South Wales side. Bert is seen here being chaired from the ground, surrounded by some very familiar faces. Here's a final look at Bert in 1955, Claxton Shield, Sydney. That's Bert front row, second from the left. We pay tribute to the late great Bert Numa. Another one of Carlton's greatest identities, a club secretary, a dual club championship winner, a premiership player, life member and friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Russell Williams. In the early 1950s, when the club was in need of a secretary, Russell was it, and he held the position for most of the decade, coordinating renovations to the gardener stand, recruitment and practice techniques. Russell's playing career spanned 17 years, mainly as a second baseman, who was noted for his bunting abilities, who represented the club in 2 premierships, 1950 and 1963. The Carlton of the 50s resembled much of Russell Williams's values, and a special welcome is extended to Russell and his family. The Carlton Cricket Club always played an active part in baseball, and here's a photo of titled Baseballers in the Off-Season. Here we have baseballers including Tom Trembath, Bert Numa, Ron Short and Ray Wake, celebrating the 56 to 57 premiership win. Other people well known to the club in this photo is Barney Jones, Eric Seacombe, Jack Thompson and Bernie Smith. The club championship was won in 1956 by Les Korsman. This next photo is titled Thirds in a Huddle, 1962, and features left to right players Phil, Ian, Gary, Tony, Dennis, Barry, Bill, Laurie, Norm and Mr. Smith. Scorer is Phyllis Hargrave's mum. Some things never change. Club championship was won in 1962 by Tom O'Mara. It seems the third nines were well into photos at this time, and a 1963 shot features many well-known Blues and provided a start to many young hopefuls. Boyd Robertson and Warren Pryor, both front, under the watchful eye of coach Laurie Scarlett, top left, were 2 such players. Warren would go on to represent Victoria against Japan in 1969 and was our club champion in 1960.